Over the weekend, I removed 90% of my assets from the traditional system. The reason for that, oil ripped over $100 per barrel on futures on Saturday on Hyperliquid. I'm talking institutional custody, cold storage wallets, physical cash, gold, silver, and at least a month's supply of real world assets. Because at the same time that oil was ripping to $115 a barrel, last week we already saw cracks in private credit, with major private credit firms starting to freeze withdrawals, trying to limit the pressure. Okay, so today we're going to move forward. I'm going to show you exactly how and why I move my money out of the markets. And on top of that, we have rumors circulating that the Senate Democrats are now ready to move forward with the Clarity Act. At the same time, the rest of the world is starting to crack under this liquidity pressure. We're seeing economies around the world, Japan, Korea, China, many European countries, all with major pullbacks in their stock markets this week. Okay. This is a major crisis. The last time we saw something like this was 2008, and I have the receipts for you. Okay. Hit the like button. Let's hop into it. Oil ripped up to $119.50 per barrel on futures once this went live yesterday. It opened at $94 and shot straight up to $112 Sunday night in a matter of less than 10 minutes. Now we've pulled back and it's come all the way down to $94. This is good, right? There was an overreaction. This is volatility. This is speculation. However, remember, before we invaded Iran, oil was at $55. Why am I making such a big deal about oil? Well, oil spikes ultimately are what not necessarily control, but are a major factor on inflation, pretty much second only to money printing. So the last time we had an oil spike that got over $110 was 2008. And we can see exactly what happened. It got up to $133.88 and now has fallen and then it fell to 41. All right. Right now, the last update we have on our chart is from February, but again, we just saw it was all the way up to $119. This hasn't updated yet, okay? So the last time we saw oil get this high was before the 2008 financial crisis. Why is that important? Well, let's look at 2008. When 2008 happened, this is the CPI. Now let's look at the CPI. What is the CPI? Well, let's see here. CPI is basically inflation, but it's the cost of goods for individuals, what things really cost for people. So oil's spiking and things are more expensive than they've ever been. Because I always talk about the real economy. I'm not necessarily going to talk to you about the stock market all the time. Yeah, our stock market is doing well, but it's propped up on 7 AI stocks. Okay, 7 AI stocks have been propping up our economy. If you want to look at the real economy, let's look at our neighbors. 12.7% of credit card loans are now in serious delinquency, 90 plus days, the second highest in history. Don't forget, we are now, as Americans, at the highest level of credit card debt since it's been tracked in 1999. The highest level of debt in our nation's history, with highest level of delinquencies. But that's credit cards, not just credit cards though. Cars, 1.7 million cars were repossessed in 2009 during the GFC, the Great Financial Collapse. 3 million cars were repossessed in 2025. The average new car is $748 a month. 78% of Americans commute using their cars. Subprime delinquencies at 7%. Okay, highest amount of delinquencies in auto loans ever recorded. Highest amount of credit card debt ever recorded. Second highest recorded in delinquencies in credit card debt. Housing unaffordability, the absolute highest it's been. Pending home sales, the lowest it's been since COVID. Okay, if we factor all of this in, record number of American workers pulling their money from their 401ks, so they can't pay their bills and they are cannibalizing their 401ks to get by. Google search for how to sell a house has hit all-time highs. Okay, our neighbors are in a lot of trouble. I don't care what the stock market's saying about the 7 top stocks and S&P 500 and all that. When our neighbors can't pay our bills and oil is spiking to over $100 a barrel and private credit companies are freezing withdrawals, this is the same blueprint that started 2008. I'm not trying to scare people, but I am taking my own personal precautions. This is why, okay? This is precisely why. Now, am I out of crypto? No. Actually, I probably hold about 50% of my assets in crypto, but they're not held in the financial institutions. They're not held on exchanges. Everything's been moved with the exception of what I can't move, and that's pretty much Canton Network, okay? And then traditional and like ETFs and stuff like that. Anything I can move has been moved. So, that being said, what about the Clarity Act, right? Well, we have to be careful with the Clarity Act. I have one more piece of great information. Let's transition to crypto. Kraken. Breaking news, NASDAQ partners with Kraken to push 24/7 tokenized stock trading. NASDAQ is officially working with the crypto stock exchange Kraken to develop tokenized versions of stocks and ETFs that can be traded 24 hours a day. So that looks like the NASDAQ will be running through Kraken for 24/7 tokenized stocks. Again, this is only going to be moving faster and faster. Okay, now, here's the thing. If we go on here on X, and I want to talk about this, let's see here. Clarity Act. Let's just type Clarity Act on X. I know this is X. Okay, bear with me, okay? You guys know me by now. And again, engage in the chat. Chat is the lifeblood of the stream. Let me know how you guys are feeling out there. It is a crazy, crazy Monday. Let's see. Clarity Act. Let's see. Where is it at? Donald Trump confirms the Clarity Act is finalized. U.S. crypto bill to be signed before March 1st. I like how this was put out on March 7th. That's not how that works, people. Are we going to time travel? Thank you, Senator Loomis, for your continued efforts on the... As I said, my testimony is vital. Clarity Act is signed into law per Secretary Scott Bessent, blah, blah, blah. That's not the information we're looking for. New Clarity Act delay could hurt banks. Banks risk falling behind in financial innovation, according to former chairman of CFTC. So the banks are getting a lot of heat to get this thing done. However, where was the information I was looking for? President Trump announces a major good deal with Venezuela for gold. Insight with White House crypto advisor. Clarity Act talks midterm pressure. Okay. I can't find them now. Go figure. But there's rumors circulating around that the Senate is ready to pass the market structure bill. And now I can't find it. I had it in here, but now I can't find it. However, there is a immense amount of pressure from Wall Street trying to get this thing across. Sorry about that. I lost my train of thought for a second. So we covered the crude oil, right? We covered the CPI. Here, crude oil prices surged to $115 on Hyperliquid as Kuwait UAE slash production. Again, not just the bombings of the... What's the word I'm looking for? My brain is not just the bombings of the storage facilities in Iran, but also they are cutting production or halting production in several of the Gulf and UAE states. Okay, Clarity Act is key. XCFTC Clarity Act says will help the banks. Again, pressure across the board to get Clarity Act done. Now, let's talk about our crypto. What's going on in crypto today? Well, nothing good except for everything's pumping a little bit, but I wouldn't really consider it pumping, okay? What's Bitcoin doing? Oil futures are still at 94. As you can see, I'm waiting for another entry. I had a pretty successful morning. Pretty much had the easiest trade I've ever had in my life, okay? At 5 p.m. last night, I was waiting for oil futures to open. I had seen that Hyperliquid was running at like $112 when this opened, and it opened at 94. I literally entered the long, it shot up to 112, and I exited. Literally made about $2,500 in a whopping 8 minutes. Again, not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. You should always do your own research. Investing comes with the risk of loss, and you can lose everything. This is just what I do in my own personal life. So, again, 90% of my assets have been removed. As you can see, my number has gone down here, even while I made almost $2,000 today trading oil. Okay, so I've moved a lot of my stuff out of there. Now, what I recommend to anyone, and again, not financial advice, if you have crypto, cold storage wallet, institutional custody, even a warm wallet is better than the exchanges. At least you own or control the custody, whereas you do not custody on an exchange. If something were to happen, you can lose your crypto, right? Not your key, not your crypto. Institutional custody is the safest, easiest way. There are options for that. I have options for both in the description if you would like. And then also making sure that you have food and water. Why do I think that food and water is important? Well, if we remember anything from COVID, if we were to have some kind of major shutdown, right, it causes major issues. I'd just rather be on the side of safety, especially when the US is bombing water treatment plants in the Middle East. Okay? I don't know how things are going to play out. I don't. But I'm just erring on the side of caution so that I'm protected. That's just me. I might be overreacting, but I'd rather have things in my safe, secure custody than the custody of the banking system right now or the financial system right now. That way, if something does go wrong, I have access. I mean, you can have $20 million in the bank. It doesn't matter if you don't have access to it, right? So as far as the steps I took, first, I removed all my crypto from any exchanges, anything that I could. The only thing I haven't moved is some of my Canton network that I bought on Robinhood because I was having trouble sending it to my institutional custody partner that I use with Caleb and Brown. So the only thing I have left on exchange is a little bit of Canton, and I'm working on getting that removed, a little bit of the CC. Everything else is either held in institutional custody or cold storage wallets. When I say that I don't have anything, it means I only have a very, very minimal amount of cash in a bank account. Everything else is held in cash, physical silver or physical gold, or in USDC or crypto on a cold storage wallet. That's it. So I have access to USDC on my wallet. I have cash in my drawer. You know what I mean? If I need it, or in my safe, whatever you want to hold with. So that way, if the banking system goes wrong, we can't access the internet. We can't access. What if the power grid goes out, folks? You know? What if the power grid goes out? What if the banking system gets hacked? We are in the middle of an escalating conflict that could, I mean, we're on the doorsteps of a world war. To say we're not is naive. You think this isn't pissing off China or Russia? We just had 3 bombers roll into the UK. I mean, massive bombers. Okay. This is escalating. It's going to continue to escalate. My opinion, not financial advice. Let's see what's happening with crypto today. Appreciate you guys being here today. Make sure you keep rolling in the chat, and let's see what we're doing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is up now to 69,000 and did not push past 70,000. Will it stay there? XRP is sitting at 136, 137. Again, just hanging out. Again, everything's chopping. Even oil is chopping kind of right now. I think everything's kind of digesting after such a rough morning. I don't think we're going to see any other major moves today. But I mean, like all of this to say that nothing really happened, right? Started out at 94, finishing around 95. I have a buy order in at 92.75 to fill in this fair value gap. Not financial advice, but that's where I'm waiting to pick up some more for the next leg up, because I do think it's going to continue to go up. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Seriously. I mean, I'm looking at this and I don't see any positive light anywhere other than the potential possibility for XRP to fill a liquidity role in a geopolitical crisis. Now, remember, any major innovation any major innovational change has been resulted from a crisis. Okay. What created Bitcoin? Not who created Bitcoin, what created Bitcoin? It was the 2008 financial collapse that was supposedly the cause of the creation of Bitcoin. Okay. What spawned the surge in the internet? It was after the bubble burst in 2001 that we saw a surge in Google or Amazon or Apple, right? None of this stuff happened until after the dot-com bubble, okay? It always takes a crisis to create major innovation. Is that what's going to happen right now? I don't know. I'm positioned if it happens that way. I don't want to say I would like for it to happen that way, because if you've been around the stream long enough with me, you know that I've always said the whole reverse carry trade domino theory, if that were to happen, that a lot of people would be in significant pain. And if that does play out, which is the story that's being told right now, if that were to play out, yeah, XRP holders could be very, very well off. But a lot of people are going to be in a significant amount of pain. $150 oil is a possibility on the horizon, and $150 oil would destroy global economies. Again, major shifts, major crisis. That's what we're looking at right now. It's a very real thing. This is not clickbait. This is a real thing. This is a real issue. So I truly believe that. And I truly believe that's why I removed 90% of all of my stuff out of the financial system. Because I do believe it's really that serious. Not financial advice. I'm not trying to, I normally keep very, very positive energy. I still have positive energy around my long view investments of crypto. That's why I didn't sell my crypto. I love the fact that I have crypto because I can move it out of the financial markets right now. That's exactly why I have it. So it is physical asset. It's scary out there, guys. It's not looking good. The last time we saw anything like this was a huge financial reset. And people are going to be hurt. Let's get in the chat. Hopefully you guys give me some positive info. Honestly, that's why I didn't stream this weekend. Normally I stream on Saturday. I even went to go stream on Sunday. I'm just watching everything going on. I'm like, oh my God. I was running around doing all my stuff, getting myself situated. But I was like, what do I tell these people? I can only tell you the truth. Like, I am genuinely concerned about what's going to happen over the next 3 to 6 months. And I position myself accordingly. And that's all I can do is tell you guys the truth. So let's see what you guys have to say. Appreciate everyone taking your time to be here today, as always. Your time is your most valuable asset. You will never get any more of it. Scott, is that supposed to be you on the thumbnail? Yeah, it's AI's interpretation of me, apparently. You're ahead of the curve, as always, says Charles. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Good morning, Longview crew. Forgot about daylight savings time. You know, a lot of people did, believe it or not. And you know what's really funny about daylight savings time is so many people make such a big deal about it. They're like, oh my God, it's daylight savings time. I got to go to work on Monday and it's going to be this issue. I'm like, we're talking about freaking hour, people. Take a melatonin and go to bed. You'll be okay. But everyone acts like an hour jacks up the entire world. I'm like, come on, guys. We've been doing this for a long time, since before I was born. Yeah, we've messed with it and moved it around, but I mean, come on. It's not the end of the world. It's an hour. Enjoy the time travel. Let's move on. Good afternoon, Raul. Todd Madison. Hello, everyone listening from the car. Oh, on the motorcycle, heading out for a 20-minute ride. Beautiful day in Atlanta. Yeah, it's beautiful out there. It's 80 degrees here in Kansas City today. As a matter of fact, I am heading to the driving range when I get done streaming today. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to try and de-stress and take my mind off things, man, because I'm not going to lie, I am concerned. Lifeblood, Joel Davis, banks need to go. I mean, the banks are they're not looking good right now. I'll tell you that. And a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. That's just my opinion. Again, not financial advice. The Fed is in a blackout and can't say a word until March 18th. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is green. Exactly. Right. The Fed's not going to say a damn word. They are going to keep their mouth shut. Do it without the banks. That's exactly what I'm doing. I've essentially turned my cold storage wallets into a bank account by holding stable coins and by holding cryptocurrency. So that way, yeah, I only have a very minimal amount of money in my bank account. So someone might ask me, how do you pay your bills? With a credit card. I pay my bills with a credit card, and I can pay my credit card with USDC. Ain't it a wonderful thing? I don't even have to hold a bank account. I can pay my credit card with crypto now. I can pay it with stable coins. So I just use my credit card to pay my bills, and I pay off my credit card at the end of the month, now using stable coins. I used to have to transfer money around to do it, but now I don't even have to do that anymore. That's what I do. Nice trade. That's 18 to 1900 per hour, or 19,000 per hour. Yeah, I made it was roughly 2,500 in about 10 minutes on that trade. And it was literally the biggest no-brain trade I've ever seen in my life. Because I'm sitting here looking at futures on Hyperliquid reading $112. Our market opened on futures, the stock market opened on futures at $94. I'm like, I wonder what the frick's gonna happen here. I just immediately went long and just bam, it shot up. I will probably never see a trade that easy in my life ever again. What do you mean you removed your assets? Did you redeem for dollars or what? No, I transferred all of my crypto into either cold storage or institutional custody, and the majority of my cash that was in the system, I purchased USDC and moved to my cold storage wallets. So now my cash is held as a stable coin in cold storage wallets, with the exception of $1,000 of cash that I keep in my safe now. In case something happens to where I need to go to a store and buy something with cash, and say there's a power outage or anything, or the internet goes down, whatever the case may be. These things are possibilities, people. Let me ask you this. Let me just ask this one simple question. How are you positioned to survive if the internet goes out for a week? Think about what that means if the internet goes out for a week. Okay, if the internet goes out for a week, that means you can't use a debit card, credit card, no cell phones. You can't buy anything anywhere because they all run online. So you'll either need to make cash transactions with other individuals. You won't necessarily be able to go to a store if the internet's down because the stores all run on the internet, right? And you don't think there's going to be chaos going after those stores. That's why I have a pantry, be honest with you. Things like that. So I see those options. I see those possibilities, and I'm just not going to put myself in that position. Imagine if the internet went out for a week and people made a run on the stores, right? There's no food. Okay. People will be scared and people will go crazy. Sir Charles has been expecting shit to hit the fan for a few years now. In 2020, I bought an atmospheric water generator and a huge solar panel with it. Good for you, Charles. Good for you. I need the water generator. How much did that cost you? I want one of them, an atmospheric water generator. I need to learn about that. I really need to. I have a gas powered generator and I have 5 gallons of gas. So I have enough to generate power for a week if I need it. For my refrigerator and, basic things like that. So if the heat were to go out, it's enough to run my heat for a week. Is basically what it comes down to. Hey, could you maybe tell a bit about the relationship that silver and gold have with cryptocurrencies, if you have some words on that topic? Okay. So a lot of people believe that crypto is going to move with gold and silver. I personally do not think there is any direct correlation between gold and silver and crypto, other than the fact that gold and silver is still a flight to safety and cryptocurrency is still considered a risk asset. The rotation of gold and silver into risk assets follows the same with Bitcoin, follows the same with the rest of crypto. If you look at tech stocks and look at Bitcoin and their correlation between gold and silver, it's very, very similar. Okay, so tech stocks are considered risk assets. Bitcoin, a slightly riskier asset than tech stocks, and altcoins riskier than Bitcoin. So the flow out of risk assets or the flow to risk assets typically follows the same model as tech stocks, truthfully. That's how I look at it. I could pull up the charts and give visuals. Everyone loves visuals, so let's take a look. Let's see. So if we're going to look at tech stocks, let's look at the S&P 500 for now, okay? SP 500. Let's look at this stock. Let's go out. Now, if we're going to be, let's look at a year. Let's give a year timeline, okay? Is this a year? When does this go back to? Sure. Okay. That is the S&P 500 over the last year. Get a good mental look at that. Let's look at Bitcoin over the last year. Let's look at this mental model. Does it look similar? Steady rise and then a fall. The fall was in, let's see, October, right? We had the massive on October 10th, but it peaked on October 6th at 126,000. Let's look at the S&P 500. October 6th. And now it's rotating out. Now again, bear in mind the S&P 500 is propped up by AI stocks. And I've been warning of an AI bubble, but nonetheless, you can see it starting to follow the same curve. All right. They're similar. Nothing is exact. And then let's look at gold and silver futures. Gold over the last year. Steady incline. Flight to safety over the last year. Well, so even while this accelerated to 5,600 at the beginning of January. Let's go back and look at the S&P 500. At the same time, S&P 500 began to decrease the flight to safety. And gold and silver was also running up while crypto started running out too. Let's go back and look at gold and silver. Yeah. The major run-up started happening in October after the liquidation events. So this was the early signs right here of the rotation out of risk assets. So yeah, I do believe that the correlation is similar to tech stocks, except we actually get a little bit of a precursor with the cryptocurrencies. It looks like the cryptocurrencies will show us which way tech stocks are going to go first as of right now, until utility changes things, because right now they still fall under speculative assets, right? Until utility ties the knot and makes it otherwise. So let's get back to the chat. Hopefully that significantly answered the question. Feel like I went a little deep on that. If the reverse carry trade plays out and everything is bad, what price does XRP need to be to help solve the problem? What problem are we trying to solve? You said everything is bad. In order for them to solve liquidity and move things around, I mean, think about it. They just evaporated $14 trillion over this weekend between oil and stocks. Worldwide, $14 trillion just got evaporated. So, gosh. To at least start reversing things, it would have to be in the like $20 to $50 range for them to start unlocking the Nostro Vostro accounts and get money flowing again. Because just unlocking the Nostro Vostro accounts on those corridors would be enough to start turning the market around. So I would say, yeah, about 20 to 50 bucks to start to get the ball rolling. Yeah. They would need that kind of liquidity to reopen the Nostro Vostro accounts and get things flowing. But that's just my opinion. What is my favorite cold wallet? Well, I have two. I have three, but I have two that I like. So my absolute favorite, and they serve different purposes, okay? My absolute favorite is an air-gapped cold storage wallet for long-term storage. I do have that. I have the EliPal Titan 2.0 right here. Air-gapped, never been touched to the internet. Touchscreen, biometrics, the works. Absolutely love it. That's where I keep a lot of my crypto. And then I also have the Tangem Ring. And this is technically a cold storage wallet, but I use it more for a warm wallet replacement because it's easy to access. I can take it with me anywhere. It has a DEX on it. So that's why I have both of those. I basically don't use a warm wallet anymore. I don't use a Trust wallet or a Coinbase wallet, or I still have the Bifrost wallet. I don't use basically the phone-based wallets. I use the Tangem wallet instead because to me it's a more secure version that does the same things. So that's just me. That's my personal opinion, and that's what I use. Links are in the description. The only thing I will say is whatever cold storage wallet you use, whether you use one I use or not, get it directly from the manufacturer. Do not buy it from a third party. Make sure you go straight to the manufacturer website and get it from them, so that way you don't get it with anything on it. That's how a lot of people will hack you. You'll buy, or some people have been hacked that way, or quite a few have been hacked that way. They get a cold wallet from some random place and it's not a real cold wallet, and they switch their crypto to it and it's gone. Okay, so just make sure you get it directly from the manufacturer. I have a code for 10% off Tangem in the description. Use the code LONGVIEW if you want to go that direction. And they actually just said I got an email from them actually. They have colored wallets for 20% off, and you get the 10% off on top of that. So there's some wallets you can actually get from Tangem right now for 30% off, which is really, really cool. So no Longview, it's mayhem. Yeah, it's crazy out there. It is mayhem. There is BS news flying around everywhere. Like, it's so hard to figure out what's real and what's not right now. Like, you can't trust anything. So much AI generated stuff and everything else, and AI articles. Like, I have to go through, pull up an article, and then I have to research it. Like, I have to find the article, research the article to make sure it's legit before I can even think to use it. You know what I mean? But what stocks and ETF? What do you mean, what stocks and ETFs? I have treasuries, and then I have gold and silver ETFs. That's it. I have treasuries, gold and silver ETFs, and then, copper ETFs. And then I have some Canton Network that's stuck on Robinhood. I'm trying to get that moved to Caleb and Brown with my institutional custody. But aside from that, yeah, I'm hedging. Physical gold and silver, ETF gold and silver, treasuries. I have a cash stockpile. I have my crypto stockpiles. I literally stacked and hedged food and water, people. Like, I made a Costco run and stocked up on my paper products, paper towels, toilet paper. Okay, because when gas goes, okay, speaking of someone, I can actually give you some how do I put this? I can actually give you some expertise. 10 years as a carrier specialist. Okay, my job, Raul, are you in the house today? You're in the house driving, I think. My job was to hire trucking companies to move stuff, okay? When oil shoots up and they get screwed over a lot. They get screwed over a lot. So when they have an opportunity to make money, they're gonna, as a truck person who worked in trucking, sometimes when you're about to make bank, Raul, good for you, buddy. So as someone who worked in transporting goods, is going to be more expensive. Truckers are going to charge a premium. On top of that, Trump just pulled a ton of truckers off the road because as someone who worked in trucking, I agree that's what you should do. However, value. So now we're going to have increased costs of fuel with a shortage of $2,000, $3,000, sometimes $4,000 more to ship product than they typically would. Who pays for that? You do. That causes delays. I have sound on my side. You guys might need to refresh. You might need to refresh because I have sound on my end here. But who pays for that? The customers on the end. And usually it takes a few weeks to show up. Oh, you guys, okay, well, hang on. Let me see. I can't refresh it this way. It's the mic is showing up on my side that is going through. Does anyone have audio? Can anyone say, okay, it just came back. Okay. All right. Everyone's got audio. So there's a shortage of drivers with all the ones that can't speak English being pulled off the road, which is the right thing to do. It's dangerous, but it's going to cause an increase in prices. Okay. So we have less drivers on the road with an increased cost of fuel. This is going to cost exponentially more money. So it lagged out. So it's going to cost exponentially more money. You're looking at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per shipment, depending on how far it's going. Cost of all goods are going to get more expensive, and it's going to be delayed at the beginning because what's going to happen is these companies are not going to want to pay these prices at first. Shipments are going to get delayed, and they're going to get delayed. And then drivers are going to say they're going to pick up, this shipment, and someone's going to be like, I'll pay you $2,000 more to go get mine. And then stuff's going to get delayed. It causes shortages at stores on top of the increased prices from just getting it there. This is the same thing that happened during COVID. This is why freight brokers and truck drivers made a ton of money during COVID, myself included. All right. Oh, your water thing makes 8 gallons of water each day. You bought it for that's a good investment. That is a good investment. If there's no internet, there's no access to crypto either, so cash would be the only way to get by, and stores could still sell. Just write down the items to remove from the inventory. You're right, they could, Kelly. Do you think they would do that, though, or do you think they would shut down? I mean, a lot of that stuff, like ordering practices and stuff like that's automated. So, yeah, they could still sell for cash, and that's why I have a cash asset, right? That's why I have cash in hand. In the case that that were to happen, you need to have ways to take care of each. I'm wondering if I have stocks that are doing well, should I let them be? Eventually, everything goes back up, no? Would you still hold SPY and other ETFs? I mean, investing is for the long view. There's going to be ups and downs, and there's no way of predicting how things are going to go. We don't know how low things will go or how high they'll go or when it'll happen. I didn't sell anything. I just moved stuff around. I didn't sell any crypto. I didn't sell any ETFs. I didn't sell anything. The only thing I sold was a house back in January because I said I thought the housing market was about to crash. And I've been using that to buy the dip and get myself set up. I'm good to go. I can literally sit here and do nothing and earn no money and be perfectly fine for about 3 years. I am bunkered in. So I am here for the long view. I created a system to basically safeguard myself through a transition to crypto. But again, not financial advice. It's just what I was doing in my own life because I was truly fearful of this. And I've been mentioning the recession fears that I've had for the last 6 months with the creeks in private credit, with an AI bubble, with a potential Bitcoin volume bubble. But people don't want to hear that. Most people don't want to hear that. They just want the positive news. But that's why I'm also been buying the dip and I'm in crypto for the long view, what it's going to be 5 to 10 years from now, not what's going to happen over the next year. That's just me, though. I've never heard of an atmospheric water generator. I looked up on Amazon. Great thinking when you mention, are you prepared if the internet was down for a week? Yeah. I mean, if we have a cyber attack and we lose the internet, it's going to cause issues with power. It's going to cause issues with everything. We will lose, like, cell phones gone, power gone, like everything. So we have to be prepared. Funbro says the reverse carry trade sounds inevitable. Jake Claver is looking more brilliant by the day. Let's go XRP. Well, just like I mentioned this, Funbro, just like I mentioned this, I'm going to ask this question. What if he's right about everything, but it doesn't appreciate XRP? Are you prepared for that? Not trying to give people fear mongering here. I just want to make sure people are taken care of. I honestly care more to make sure people survive whatever's about to happen to us over the next 6 months, or not, regardless, survive, come out ahead. Right? I just don't want anyone to get clobbered, because we're setting up a position where that's certainly possible. That's all. Brad Garlinghouse said the price of XRP in the next 5 years will make everybody happy. I agree. And that's what my view has always been for 5 to 10 years. The name is in the damn channel. Long View Compute. It's there for a reason. Funbro has Tangem and Ledger. Okay, I have Tangem and LEPAL, and I do actually still have a Ledger. Ledger was my first cold storage wallet. I have it sitting in a safety deposit box. It's been there for a while now. That was my original moon bag from long ago. I have a cold storage wallet in one safety deposit box with the keys for it in another safety deposit box. Maybe I'm a little crazy when it comes to making sure my stuff's protected, but I don't want to get left out. I just remember COVID happening and seeing how crazy the world went. And I was like, never again am I going to be caught out of position on that. You are right not to buy cold storage wallets from a third party. Everybody make sure you do not buy from Amazon either. Yes, straight from the manufacturer. Straight from the manufacturer. Yes, we would be okay here with no internet for a while. I would be able, I mean, it depends. If cell phone service is up, I might still be able to stream on my mobile phone. Because I'll have a generator I can get my phone up and running, but I probably wouldn't be able to do much else. Do you use tax software? I do. I do my own taxes. I use tax software. I actually do mine on TurboTax because my taxes are extremely, extremely simple. They're really not that difficult because now it's just me. I don't even claim my daughter anymore. My ex-wife claims my daughter, and I don't sell anything. I really don't. I haven't sold any of my stuff. So really, my taxes have just been my income over the last several years. When I do go to sell, I'll probably have to have some help with those, and I'll probably go to my CPA. I do have a CPA, but I do my own taxes. I go to them and make appointments for advice and stuff like that. But when my taxes get more complicated, I'm just going to go to a CPA because, I have a business, and then I also have crypto, and I also do day trading, and there's a lot of things that can get muddied now, and I just want to make sure I'm protected. If the internet went down, the world would be in upheaval. That would be a very scary time for so many reasons. It would be anarchy. Like the first day, people would be in disbelief. The second day, people would start to get fearful. And then the third day, people are going to start freaking out because there's no communication without the internet now, right? You would have the emergency broadcast system. That's it. Most people don't have a freaking radio anymore. They can't get the radio without an app on their phone. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, most people will be at the mercy of the public broadcast system and can't even access it. Like, we would go back to old analog stuff. The youth of America would be screwed. Screwed. Us 35 to 55-year-old era, we would be the bridge. We would be the only ones able to keep things going because we'd be the only ones to be able to convert back to analog, right? Okay, we lost sound for a little bit, but it came back. My mug was stuck. Okay. Cody thinks I'm overreacting. Okay. There are so many things to consider that could drastically affect our world. EMP made, yeah, an EMP could do that as well. And don't forget, if a nuke goes off, it has an EMP that goes along with it, right? A nuclear weapon creates an EMP. Now, granted, the nuclear fallout is definitely worse, but just saying it's there. Now it's working. Scott, I am new to your channel. What are your favorite investments? Okay. So the cryptos I hold, I call them my 5 pillars, okay? I hold XRP, Canton Network, HBAR, Chainlink, and Ondo. I focus on infrastructure and future-proofing our financial system. And then opposite to that, silver, copper, real estate, alternative energy, U.S. treasuries, right? It's about creating a safety net and building for infrastructure, because silver is going to be needed for infrastructure. Gold is your store of value, right? Your infrastructure plays over the long view. Also protecting from debasement, right? Our dollar has lost over 25% of its value since COVID, and 99% of its value since the early 1900s. Since we came off the gold standard in the 70s, we are screwed. We have to call it what it is. The dollar, the dollar is designed to be inflationary, right? But when the inflation is ramping up at a rate like we're seeing, which we do have proof, right? We just looked up CPI. I pulled that up for you guys earlier in the stream. Well, I'll pull it up again, right? This is CPI since the early 1900s, okay? So while this is going like this, guess what our dollar's been doing? It's been going down like this. I mean, you probably can't see it, but actually here. So you can see the inflation data on the screen there. Give me a moment. Let me get my doodles. So this is our inflation data on the screen, right? Our dollar is that top line. Okay? That's what's been happening with our money over the last 75, 100 years. So it's not that people are getting richer. It's that money is becoming worth less. The dollar is becoming worthless. It is the history of fiat currency. Eventually, it will be debased to zero and something else will replace it. How long will that take? Who knows? But it's accelerating. We can see that on the charts. That's not good news. It's just, I have to be real with y'all. I have to call them like I sees them. It ain't looking pretty. Let me get back in the chat here. When you start making people to pay for chats, I stop watching. I've never made people pay for chats. I talk to everyone. I told you from the get-go, it's about building the community. Now, I appreciate the super chats. I appreciate the memberships. Believe me, I work hard doing this. And AdSense doesn't pay a whole lot. So it's very appreciated, but it's not required, because the whole purpose was to build a different community centered around a different mindset of investing in crypto. Something about building the long view and teaching people to get rid of the instant gratification and actually get out of the pump and dump scheme and change the mindset to where they can build wealth. Because wealth is a mindset. It's not money. Because I can prove it. You give a bunch of people $1 million, the poor people will be poor again in a matter of time. It will funnel back to the people with the wealth mindset. That's how it always works. That's why you can't solve poverty by giving everyone money. The poor people will just be poor again. I understand. When you had said you removed your assets, I thought you had sold. Thanks for clarifying. Yes, removing assets does not mean selling. No, I did not sell a thing. I just moved stuff around. The things that I could move out of the system, I did. The things I couldn't, I did not. So the only thing that remains in the system is a little bit of cash, very, very little bit of cash. And then my ETFs that I can't sell or that I can't transfer out without selling. And I'm not going to sell them because I don't want to create a taxable event. Awesome that you mentioned a safety deposit box. I went to JP Morgan Chase and they got rid of all the deposit boxes as of January 1st. Unbelievable. That doesn't surprise me. They don't want to be responsible for custodying people's stuff. Are you giving us a Jerry Maguire speech here, buddy? Come on, I'll give you the Jerry Maguire speech if you want it. You want a Jerry Maguire speech, Cordell? I've got one for you. Hang on. Give me a moment. All right. I'm ready for you. You ready?
Show me the money! Show me the money! Show me the money! Show me the money! You my motherfucker! Show me the money!
I think everyone is hurting right now. We could always use a little pick-me-up, a little fun, a little razzle-razzle. But yeah, no, I'm here for the long view. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't selling nothing. Who's coming with me? Let me get back to the chat here. Well, and an investment is kind of a bet. Don't buy more than you can lose. Absolutely. An investment is a bet. You're betting that that investment is going to do well. You're exactly right. The show is fire. I'm glad you think so. Make sure you hit the like button if you guys enjoy it. It helps get the stream out to more people, and consider subscribing or becoming a member. We do talk a lot more one-on-one about different ideas, worries, concerns on our Wednesday night members only live stream. That's where a lot of people kind of give their ideas, and we discuss what our plan is going to be or what we think might be happening in the coming week. Cordell, we are going to be so rich, we will be eating escargot grilled cheese sandwiches. You can keep that. I'd rather eat a balloon, man. Escargot is disgusting. I've had it before. I've tried it. No, thank you. I'd rather have a chicken nugget. How hard do you think XRP will be able to sell if it appreciates and then the internet goes down? I mean, next to impossible if the world loses internet. You know what I mean? People won't have access. It won't be in like a switch like that. Like I've made the comment about the internet because it affects everything, but a switch like that would happen after it came back on, right? Surviving it would be why you need cash, money, water, right? Those things for while we're in the quote unquote stone ages of a blackout, right? Again, not saying that's going to happen, but I just like to ask people the question. Are you prepared to survive 1 week if you lose access to the internet? If the world loses access to the internet, are you prepared to survive 1 week? That's it. Just ask yourself that question. What happens if the internet goes out? Everything stops. Do you have water? Do you have food? Can you survive? Stephen Haynes, I'm more worried if they took power down. If they take the internet down, they take the power down. That's my point. If the internet goes down, it controls the power grid. It controls the banks. It controls everything. The money system. Everything runs on the internet. That's why I said the internet, because that would shut down the power grid, the water grid. Like everything would go down. All of it runs online. I think the reason XRP was made was to avoid World War III and replace the petrodollar and go back to the gold standard, in my opinion. I don't know if we're going to go back to the gold standard. If that were to happen, then yeah, we would be rich as XRP holders. But again, I don't know if we're going to go back to the gold standard. And the reason I say that is because the gold standard does not behoove economic growth. Because the velocity of gold is limited. It's finite. There's a set amount. So the faster the economy goes, the more money it can create. A slow economy is a dead economy. A fast economy is what grows. So when we're talking about fractal banking, we're talking about fractal lending, when we're talking about liquidity injections or Nosco Vostro accounts and all of these things, it comes around to increase the velocity of money, to keep money moving. Because if money becomes stagnant, it's not working and things slow down. So that's why when we say about the gold standard, if money has to be backed 1-to-1, like gold, right, then there's only so much money. That means that $1 has to circulate from here to here to here to here to get back to here. The more you slow down the velocity of money, the more you slow down the economy, period. So that's why I don't think they're going to go back to the global standard, because it would move our economy back to the global standard, the gold standard. So if we went to the gold standard, our economy would revert back to the 70s. 70s weren't a good era, people. Oil spiked like it did in the 70s, though. That was the last time we saw this, was 2008 and the 70s. That's kind of the economic front that we're looking at moving forward in this, with oil being up over $100 now. How much longer can they hold the Japan carry trade back, in your opinion? I mean, Japan's stock market dropped 7% this morning. And they're talking about opening their oil reserves to help sustain their government. I mean, it's gonna... I don't know. If I had to throw a guess, I mean, because everything's so crazy right now. If I had to throw a guess, I see April, May. Could be as late as June before they let things crash. Depends on how much money they're going to throw into it. You know what I mean? I got you. You're all good. You know I always like it is, so sorry, but those videos show me the money are getting old. Here for the real conversation and your knowledge. Okay, no more videos. Got you. I try to throw them in every once in a while. Yes, I'll have more time to work on my cars. Yeah, that's the world that we live in right now, guys. I mean, be honest with you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you hit the like button. I'm not trying to fear monger you all, but I do want to make sure everyone's set up, and I want to be honest with you. I can't come out here and tell you, yay, everything's going to pump, when I'm genuinely concerned, and I'm out here pulling cash and buying food and water to make sure that things don't go bad. And again, I'm probably overreacting, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. And if I'm right, then I'm in a position to make a whole lot of money when we get into that chaos. That's usually how the money is made, by people who are prepared for the chaos, right? Kind of like when I was talking about this morning, when we were talking about, or last night, I guess, last night / this morning, when we were talking about the oil futures, and I got myself in position on that trade this morning because I was looking at what the futures were on Hyperliquid on Saturday when everything was announced. And then when the futures opened on Robinhood Sunday night, it opened at $94. So yeah, when I'm sitting there looking at $112 on one screen and $94 on the other, that's a pretty easy trade. But I knew what to look for. And since then, it's pulled all the way back down. I'm in position now. Let me get back on my 15-minute candle. And again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But I'm in position now. I have a buy order in for $92.75 because I thought that's what it would be if it got back down here to oversold again before it took its next leg up. But that's just me. Let's see. We're going to finish up the chat and then we will get out of here. Let me see. I don't have anything else. If you guys have any final questions, let me know. I'm about to wrap it up here in a little bit and hit up the driving range. More specific tax question. Do you use anything for crypto tax? I'm looking at Coinly. Curious to know what people in the chat use. I personally don't use anything specific for crypto tax because I have not sold. So I haven't had to do it. I just use my reports at the end of the year for my day trading, and anything that I had made over the year, I have to pay on my short-term capital gains. But I haven't had to mess with the crypto taxes because I haven't sold any crypto to pay taxes on. I've just been accumulating. Everyone is going to buy oil from the USA. We are going to have our hand in oil from Venezuela, Iran, and here in the US. Well, this is what I was talking about on Friday too, Clint. I'm like, do people think that it's a coincidence that the United States started ramping up oil and natural gas production over the last year before we did this? Let's think about it. If we boost our own oil and natural gas reserves, and then we move in on Venezuela and take over control over that oil, and then we move in on Iran and take over control of that oil, and oil skyrockets to $150 a barrel, who just made a whole bunch of money? Right? People who have oil and people who just controlled all the oil. The world runs on oil. The stock market runs on oil. The petrodollar still does run things. That's why we're seeing economies across the globe down 5 to 10% this morning. It's real. It's important. Is XRP going back to 30 cents when everything is crashing? I don't think so. Again, I still don't see XRP getting below 80 cents. I still have my buy order in at $1. I'm not selling anything. Just because I moved 90% of my assets out of the traditional banking system, I didn't sell anything. We're talking cold storage, institutional custody, physical cash, physical gold and silver. And then I also have stable coins in my hardware wallet now. I use my credit card to pay my bills if I need to. And then I can pay off my credit card with stable coins. I don't have to have a bank account if I don't want to. Now, I do still have a bank account with some money in it. But again, 90% of all of my assets are removed from the traditional banking system now. Because we're seeing private credit funds starting to freeze withdrawals last week. Because we're seeing massive spikes in oil up to $120 overnight that people don't see. And then they're flabbergasted the next morning on Monday when the stocks crash. Unfortunately, I saw Hyperliquid at 100. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, I saw Hyperliquid sitting up at $115 this weekend because I was paying attention. No one's account is frozen, race fan, but BlackRock started freezing private credit withdrawals last week, as well as Blue Owl freezing their withdrawals, right? They wouldn't let people take money out. So even BlackRock is being hit by this right now. Don't sell. I don't sell either until my price point. There you go. You should research Bitsword Tau. I've actually been doing some research in the Tau. Originally, I had to plan on Saturday. I've been working on a video talking about the 10 cryptos that I think are going to have the biggest impact on infrastructure moving forward over the next 2 years. And I actually, every layer, including AI, and I'll tell you this, Tau is in there. I have 10 different cryptos, each one covering a specific layer of infrastructure. Now, again, I stick with my 5 core pillars, but there is more infrastructure out there than just my 5 core pillars. So I was trying to get kind of a broad scope of what all could control everything in a full crypto infrastructure if we were to get to that point. But again, it's going to be some kind of mesh between banks. I've always said that. It's more of a hypothetical situation, but I do believe that banks are always going to be involved. Again, they're not going to give up control of the currency. Like, they would roll tanks in the street. You're talking about the biggest mob in the world, the banking system. Race fan says hodl. I agree with you. It's a great bargaining tool as well, referring to oil. Absolutely. How do you set up buyers without having money in an account? Which stablecoin are you using? What do you mean, how do I set up buyers without having money in an account? How do I set up buyers without having money in an account? I don't know what you mean. Oh, buy orders? How do I set up buy orders? I do still have money in my Robinhood account. Again, 90% of my assets, not 100%, 90%. I still do have some assets in the system so that I can still trade and make trades. As I said, 90%. 90%. And I can easily, if I need to cover margin or anything like that, I can easily just transfer my USDC back to Robinhood. It's not difficult. Literally one click. It'll be there. $200 per barrel, says Clint. I don't know if it's going to get to $200 a barrel. I was waiting on 125 to 130. We'll see how things play out this week. Remember, we crossed up to 147 right before the 2008 collapse. So, I mean, $200 a barrel would cause a worldwide global economic collapse. The last time we had something that bad, as far as the last time the United States jacked with an Asian country's oil supply this bad, Pearl Harbor got bombed. Think about that. The last time we threatened someone's energy supply this badly was when we got bombed because we cut off Japan's oil. You think China's not feeling this pressure? Japan gets 90% of their oil from the Middle East. This is going to be a global issue, guys. You have a buy set for XRP at certain price points on Kraken as well. However, to pay for them, it would be coming out of my bank account. What is your recommendation? Well, I mean, yeah, I don't really have a good recommendation for that fund, bro. If you're still accumulating, you have to have money in the system. I don't know of a good way to accumulate without having money in the system. Now, again, that's why I said I pulled out 90%, because I still have money in there so I can accumulate and buy and do longs and shorts and buy orders. But that's me. Good evening from Bulgaria. Welcome back, R Angel. I remember the name now. Jose, what do you think of Stronghold, XDC, XLM, and Flare? I think they're all great projects. I actually hold a little bit of XDC, XLM, and Flare as dart throws. They're not part of my core pillars. Stronghold, I don't hold any. I know a lot of people are using it as a hedge to XRP, but it fills kind of the same role as XRP, but it doesn't have the adoption and backing that XRP does. That's why I hold the XRP instead. Again, I try not to branch out to too many. The way I feel about it, if you can't focus your investments down, then are you really buying with conviction in the project? Like, that's how I'm looking at myself. I'm not talking about you, but when I'm talking to myself is if I can't dwindle it down to a handful of projects, then how convicted am I really in my project? You know what I mean? That's just kind of how I look at it. Again, oil going to be our bargaining tool. You know, if you control the oil and the world runs on oil and you can't get it anywhere else, then yeah, it'll be our bargaining tool, but we're going to piss a lot of people off, Clint. I mean, that is how world wars are started. Just looking at history. Again, not trying to scare people, not saying there is going to be a world war, but I wanted today for all of us to have some open eyes on how we're looking at things moving forward, and at the same time, be honest with you. I couldn't very well sit here and say, woohoo, and come out all pumped up about buying stuff when I'm moving everything out of the banking system. Again, not selling stuff, but moving it out of the banking system because I am concerned. So, but that's me. That's my opinion. Not financial advice, just what I'm doing in my own life. So I'll be back tomorrow at noon for you guys. Be sure to hit the like button on the way out. If you're new to the stream, make sure you're subscribed. We stream every single day, Monday through Saturday at noon, with the exception of this last Saturday because I was getting all of my stuff together. You know what I mean? Oh, and yeah, Roll, I hear you. Like the CC price? I bought some more CC too. I told you I had a buy order in at 14.5 on CC, and it hit. So I do have more CC. I bought that on Caleb and Brown this time, though. I switched my buy order. Originally, I had it set on Robinhood, but I was trying to transfer my CC off of Robinhood and was having problems. So I actually moved the USDC over to Caleb and Brown and bought it there at 14.5. So I got a good buy order in there. And again, links in the description for you guys if you want access to any of those. My links for both LEPAL and Tangem do go straight to the manufacturers. Again, regardless of any crypto wallet you get one I use or not, please, for the love of God, buy it from the manufacturer, not from a third party. Okay? All right, I will see you all tomorrow at noon, and we're going to see how this plays out, all right? Later.